Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with the SAPI IP Business Talks. And this is a live show on LinkedIn. That means that you can write comments in the chat, and I can see that here in the studio, and I will bring that up to our guest. And that brings me to the topic of today, and I'm very happy and honored that my guest today is Bastian Best. So he's really a kind of celebrity meanwhile on LinkedIn, and with his topic on AI and IP. To my knowledge, one of the first who started to discuss that things very serious, and also made some expectations what will happen and what already happens. And this time, so now it's 2 years. We are in the second year of ChatGPT, and that changed obviously the practice of many IP guys. And I remember when I had a post from Sebastian Goebel, and Bastian, that was a recommendation from you that I get in contact with Sebastian. And Sebastian wrote in a post on the IP Business Academy, he wrote, IP patents is all about text, and LLMs are about text. So who can assume that LLMs have nothing to do with patents? So that makes no sense. And that brings me to our guest. Bastian is now in Singapore at the moment. So I learned at 7 p.m. So thank you very much. And my question to all of my guests is the same. The first one: how did you came to tell us your story? How did you came in this crazy, strange field of IP?
Yeah, that's okay. I can tell you about my backstory, so to say. So first of all, thanks for having me back. So it's great to be on the show again. Why did I become a patent attorney? Yeah, it's kind of a strange niche profession for sure. So I mean, originally, at the heart, I'm a computer guy, right? I've always been a computer nerd for all my life. Started, with an Amiga 500 at the time, my first computer when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 maybe. We didn't have no internet back then, so unbelievable today. So, I was, borrowing these books. There's this German book series, Data Becker, programming books from the library, and taught myself programming that way, completely offline. Then I studied computer science, and after my studies, I was born and raised in Munich. So I was working at BMW then for the first 3 years of my career. And there, after 3 years, there was kind of a turning point, because I realized that on the one hand, I'm fascinated with technology, with innovation. So I was working on driver assistance systems at BMW. I realized that I want to work with innovation and with new cool tech gadgets, But I also realized that I'm not so much of a tinkerer myself, right? So and so I was kind of between those two things, and then actually, I think this happens to a lot of my colleagues. I learned by chance that there is even such a profession than a patent attorney, because at the time my wife was in some kind of students network, and that network just sent out a book which was called Perspektive Patentanwalt in German, which was just a book to present the profession of patent attorney.
Okay.
And they sent that out to all the members. My wife read it, and she said she thought, "Wow, that's really a boring job." And then I read it, and I thought, this sounds interesting, because this patent attorneys, we are the interface between law and technology. And so I found that pretty much intriguing, not having to invent the things myself, but still being able to work with inventions. But well, I get them as input, so to say, from the inventors. And that way I came into the patent profession.
That explains your affinity to AI, obviously, also, so that you come from computer science, and then it is compared to let's say chemist or mechanical engineer, that this is quite a certain proximity for you. And to the audience, Bastian is, of course, a long-standing expert here on the IP Business Academy. We have a wonderful post here about a case study which we made for the training at SAPI for our master program. And here is Bastian explained, because he is the patent attorney behind this wonderful case of Connect One. And also you can listen to episode 21, where we discuss the logic behind AI-powered patent drafting. And this is to a certain extent what we want to discuss today. So, Bastian, when I see you on LinkedIn, I see that you're talking about AI and the application, the usage of AI for patent work in general, but especially for patent drafting. So you are an active patent attorney, and you make prosecutions or drafting and prosecution for clients. What time? So how much time do you spend of your professional working time with AI right at the moment?
At the moment, I mean, it's getting. I mean, I'm spending time with AI from different angles, so to say. I mean, on the one hand, I mean, all the cases I'm working on as a patent attorney, not all, but basically, I would say maybe 70% of the inventions I'm working on concern AI. So those are my clients' inventions for which I draft the patents. So the topic is always AI innovation in 70% of my cases probably. So that's the one dimension, so to say. And the other dimension, that's today's topic, is how to use AI in the workflow of a patent attorney. And here I spent quite some time. I mean, so you already mentioned it. Since ChatGPT came out 3 years ago, I was immediately intrigued by this text generation capabilities, and the first time that a computer could really understand natural language, and not only specific computer commands, but natural language, and could also produce text which is really on point linguistically. I was intrigued by that, and I was immediately looking into how I can implement that in my work. And in the meantime, I have my current tool set up, so to say, which I use in my day-to-day work, in my client work. And I'm also giving seminars, you already mentioned it, to share what I do there with other patent professionals. So it's getting more and more. It's AI everywhere in my work, basically.
Okay. Now when you say that it was 22, right? We have 25, so it's year 3 with ChatGPT.
It was actually November 30, I think. So almost exactly 3 years ago.
Yeah. Great. And so there is a discussion out there, and I would like to mention the elephant in the room. So my understanding is at the moment we have 2 directions. There is these there are people out there who say something like, "But the AI said so." Okay, so in terms of the AI is the eye in the sky, the knowledge base, the ultimate wisdom. This is the one direction, and the other direction is, oh, whoa, 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 there can be mistakes, and is that really the quality we need? So the elephant in the room would be the question: does the usage of AI compromise quality? Is that, can that happen? So how can we make sure that it doesn't happen? What is your position on that?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, because I mean, yeah, AI in the end is a tool, right? A new tool we have at hand, and of course you can use it the right way, or what I would say is the right way. And if you do it like that, I would even argue that it improves the quality. I see that in my work pretty clearly. And but on the other hand, if you use it incorrectly, then you can, of course, everyone can basically go to ChatGPT and say, and upload an invention description, a one-pager, and say, write me a patent, and ChatGPT will write you a patent, because these chatbots are programmed so that they please the user, right? So it will write something up, and it will sound great. That's the danger about AI. So yeah, I would say in the end, I mean, AI, I think that's important to know. In my experience, AI just amplifies what you put in, right? If you use it as a professional who knows what he or she is doing, then you can do great things and actually save time while improving the quality. That's crazy, but I think AI is the first technology, at least the only technology I know, where this is possible. But if you use it the wrong way, yeah, bad things can happen.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody have heard such stories of citations which does not exist, and argumentations, at least at court, which are not founded, and so on. I mean, obviously, this is not the right usage. So
exactly.
You said you have a tool set, and you talk about a workflow. So some people have the feeling out there, so that is my experience, that as you said, I'm uploading something, maybe a sketch from a napkin. I'm uploading that, and then the AI is doing the rest. And why should I need a patent attorney at all? So this is this one-click logic. So everything should happen with one click, and so I want a patent with one click. But when you talk about a tool set and a workflow, that can't mean or that can't represent a one-click solution. So can you explain me how you use it, especially to improve the patent quality and to save time at the same time?
Yeah, so maybe just, I can answer that. So, I mean, to give a straight answer to this question, I mean, how much time do I save, and how is it about the quality? So I would say, I mean, it used to take me in the old days when I was doing the patent drafting work purely manually, it took me like 2, maybe 3 working days to, write a full patent application. And now, in the meantime, with my current AI setup, I do the same in 1 working day on average. So that's a big time saver.
Wow.
And because I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you are writing the whole patent application, if you're producing it like a book or a novel, right?
Yeah.
Just by typing it out. I mean, that used to take 2 to 3 days in my work. And I mean, let's be honest about what those 3 days actually look like. I mean, it was not the 3 days of a genius legal strategy, right? It was maybe, let's say, 30% strategy, and 70% manual labor, just typing out the text. So staring at a blank Word document, typing hundreds of words, throwing away the first 2 drafts, formatting heading and things like that, and things that really do not add that much value. And I think that's one of the great potentials of AI. So with my current pipeline I'm using, as I said, I finished the exact same document in 1 working day on average. And now, of course, the quality question. I think here it is important to understand the difference between typing and thinking, basically, right? I mean, typing is low value, right? It's manual labor. It burns your
Yeah.
battery. It doesn't add value. And the thinking is the important part, right? It's high value. That's figuring out how to cover the invention, how to draft the claims, right, which define the legal monopoly, the value of the patent in the end, how to structure, fallback positions for the patent examination process, things like that. That's where the value is created, right? And that's the thinking part. So we have thinking and typing, and the nice thing is that AI basically takes the typing to 0. That's where the time can be saved, right? It just takes over. It can take over the grunt work, and you can then take the remaining time and reinvest it into the thinking part, right? So today, when I work on a patent application, I take more time thinking about the claims and about the overall narrative of the patent and how it is structured, the fallback positions, like I just mentioned, and then the AI does the nitty-gritty production in the end, so to say. Maybe an analogy that I think is always helpful is like, think of it like, building a house, right? Where you have basically two basic roles. You have the architect on the one hand who right, designs the blueprint, checks the legal obligations, and in the end makes sure that the roof doesn't collapse. And then you have the construction crew who then really pours the concrete and lays the bricks. And I'm coming now to this one-click argument, right? I mean, in my experience, many of the one-click tools we have out there, somehow they try to skip this architect, right? And that's a dangerous thing, because I mean, if you want to outsource the patent work to the AI with a magic one-click tool, the AI just doesn't know, the business strategy of the client. It doesn't know which competitor we want to block. It just wants to fill the page with text because it's a text production tool. And so in the end, I'm advocating against this one-click approach, and my approach is exactly the opposite, right? I am the architect, and I will always be the architect. The patent attorney, I decide what we are protecting and how, and the AI is the construction crew who just then pours the concrete, the text, exactly where I tell it to do.
Okay. So what I see, so I like pretty much this analogy, because the construction crew just can make mistakes, but basically when they work in the right way, it is simply executing the plan.
Yeah,
And the plan
exactly.
is the question. So who made the plan and for what? And that's the
Yeah,
architect. And
exactly.
to my experience, the context is king. And however, for whatever you apply or use AI, it's always the same. The AI cannot understand the context when you don't give it to it.
Exactly.
And for that you have to interact, so to speak, with AI, and not just click on what button and hoping that all the other work, these thinking work, the strategy work, is already done. So where should that comes from?
Exactly. And maybe to add one point, people should be aware that the architect in the analogy, or the human patent attorney, is always responsible. You cannot delegate the responsibility to the AI, right? And what would be, somehow the goal of these one-click solutions, probably, but you cannot and you should not do it. And I mean, this also automatically solves this, let's say, problem of hallucinations, right? Because I mean, if a patent attorney files a patent where there is hallucinated content in there, it's actually not the AI's fault, it's the patent attorney's fault, because the patent attorney is responsible for the work product, right? I mean, in that sense, if you view it that way, that the AI is just the executor, the construction crew, then using AI is very much similar in the end to, working with a young associate who makes the first draft for you. It's always the signing attorney who has the responsibility.
No, I mean, I like to compare it to the spelling software. So when you write something in Word, and then you get a red line under your Word, and then you can make a right click, and then you get suggestions how the spelling could be, and sometimes you get even different words. And then it is simply your responsibility to choose the word. I mean, at the end, in this case, the AI can make a suggestion, but you are in charge what you want that should stand here. And this is the same thing with a patent. You cannot delegate the logic of the patent and the claims. So all what you can do is you can let the AI help you in doing that. I mean, so when you say there is not this one button, this magic button solution, obviously not, because the context is not clear. And the architect has to give the context and the strategy. So typically, people now use what a chatbot is. So many people have seen that, have a certain understanding, so you can discuss that things with your chatbot, and you have this window in which you can prompt something, and then you get the output. So I mean, to a certain extent, that looks like a one-click or one magic button solution, that because you just say what you want and you expect that you get it. What do you think about such an interface? Because I mean, Marshall McLuhan once said the medium is the message, and here there is a certain interface, and this interface, people interact with an interface, and I would say that these chatbots looks like a one-click machine. So what do you think about simply the interface? So is that a good interface for a patent attorney when it comes to drafting?
I mean, the chatbot interface, I think, is great for certain things and not so great for others. It depends on the task you are doing. I mean, what is great about, again, ChatGPT was, I think, the first tool, right, where we suddenly had this chat interface in the browser, and everyone on Earth could access the magic behind the model just by talking to it, just by writing text, but in natural language. And so from that point of view, the chatbot interface is great, because it just makes AI accessible to everyone, so to say. And of course, it is the right interface for conversational tasks. I mean, one thing I use AI in my patent work is, for example, for brainstorming activities, right? So when I'm thinking about how I'm phrasing, the claims that define the scope of my patent, and then sometimes I get into a conversation with ChatGPT and really use not with ChatGPT, but with an LLM of your choice. and I use it as a brainstorming buddy, right? To decide how could we maybe use a more general version of this term, and maybe we should be more specific here, and then you can get into some kind of conversation and really a brainstorming session with the AI, and that goes, back and forth. And here the chatbot is great, obviously, because you can just talk and get replies back, and you can have a conversation. But for other tasks, and for example, this construction part, this text production part, when you're really writing out the document in the end, the chatbot is a pretty bad interface, because I'm sure everyone has tried it. If you asked ChatGPT to write a certain, let's say, write the background section now of the patent application, you will get a certain suggestion by ChatGPT. You will probably not like it 100%. So you ask, oh, well, could you change this and that? Then you get the next version, and it's all in this conversation, in this back and forth chat, right? And if you have multiple revisions, then over time, first of all, you lose track. And also, at some point in time, I think when the revisions are substantial, and when we are working on large text portions, there is this focus context shift, where the AI then seems to forget instructions from the past. And so here, for these production tasks, I think the chat is not the right interface. Also, you're getting into this kind of copy and paste hell. You ask ChatGPT to write something, and you have to copy it into your Word, and back and forth. Yeah. So for certain tasks, I would say, we as patent attorneys, we need specialized tools, that let us focus on the particular task at hand.
Got you. Now, one thing, a tool which I like, not for drafting, I'm not doing that, but when I have a complex paper or even a book, I upload it in Notebook LM.
Yeah.
And then I let generate these discussion and this podcast episode, which is the basis for our podcast also. And the fascinating thing is, I think it works only in English, or I don't think it works in German, but you can then interrupt these two podcast hosts. You can disrupt them and ask additional questions to the topic, and then they will answer you to these questions and proceed then with their podcast. So this is so terribly crazy, to interact in that way with a scientific paper or with a book. This is absolutely great. And it's a lot of my thinking style. When I try to understand something, I have an additional question, and I showed that to my students. I uploaded my slides from a lecture, and then I showed them that they can discuss that like they can discuss that with me. So this is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So you say, and do you have any recommendations, or with which software in this drafting part you're working?
I mean, I cannot recommend specific tools. I mean, everyone has to find their own tool which they like, right? So I've tried all sorts of approaches, right? Typical general purpose chatbots. I still use those for certain tasks, like the brainstorming example I was explaining. And then I was, trying out all sorts of specialized patent drafting softwares. I use one right now, which I just got used to, and which resonates with my style of working. And then for certain things, I even built my own tool for drafting the patent claims in the beginning, the claim drafter, because there I didn't find a tool which really was working the way I wanted to have it, because what I always wanted was a tool that kind of forces me to go through a rigorous thinking process, right? And not skip certain steps.
Yeah.
So I have my own tool for drafting the claims, which really you can only use it in a way so that you go through each of the steps of the problem solution approach. Structured thinking approach, how you arrive in a methodological way at the claims in the end.
So I have here a question. Oh, it's a lengthy one from Stefan Herting. So very interesting thoughts on patent drafting, guiding AI to work within user set boundaries and context is indeed imperative. Okay, can you please elaborate how aspects which are to be kept outside patent disclosure? For example, a product on the market with confined features or a production method with features not to be disclosed or background IP and knowledge confined by contractual terms. And how can you make it to build it into the AI-assisted drafting process?
Yeah, so are these, I'm not sure if I understand it completely. So are these details which are to be kept outside patent disclosure? So they are to be kept outside the final working product, probably, yeah, outside the patent application. I mean, you have it in your hand, right? I mean, you could use all of that in your discussion with the AI, but again, the human attorney in the end decides what goes in the final patent application, right? That's even, I mean, that's the whole point of not having a one-click solution, right? I'm not uploading in my work, I'm not uploading all the stuff into a tool and then I press a button and then I get, 50 pages of patent text out. I do it really step by step, right? I guide the AI and then basically what I'm doing, I'm having the AI write the certain parts how I want them, and then in the end, I assemble all of those parts into my final document. And that's up to me to decide, right?
I think, Bastian, we have here a situation. This question from Stefan is an analogon in my lecture on IP valuation that scientists and engineers, they always want to have an objective value. So a value which for an economic asset, which is always correct and correct for everybody. And simply that doesn't exist. Okay, so everybody has to make up their minds about a value, and that's the reason why we have only subjective values. We have prices and costs, but values are subjective. And what Stefan, the question from Stefan, for me, leads to a certain extent in the direction of the one-click solution. So in terms of the human is not in the loop, the human gets something and then has to live with it, so to speak. Because when you say it's a step-by-step approach with different tools and different stages, and at the end you are in charge to bring the things together to the draft, I mean, of course you can decide what is in and what not.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's how it should be done.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm talking only about elephants today. So there's another elephant. This is the details elephant. So what I hear quite often about AI is the impression which is out there. I don't know where it comes from experience, from guessing, but people say that this is very generic what the AI is doing, and because it works just with probabilities, blah blah blah. I mean, everybody works with probabilities, by the way. Every human brain is doing that. That's why we are so bad in information processing. That's another discussion. So it's not good in details. That is what is said, and humans are better in that. Okay, so I'm in deep doubt about that, but I'm not a patent attorney and I'm not entitled to discuss that. So that's my question to you. Are there even situations where an AI is even better than a patent attorney in details?
Yes, there are actually. Yeah. Absolutely, there are. I mean, yeah, I think in the end, this is a problem of context, of giving the AI enough context. I mean, again, if you just upload like a 1 or 2 page invention description and your prompt is, hello ChatGPT, please write a patent. Again, it will create something that looks like a patent, but it will, of course, and it will indeed be very, shallow and very generic and yeah, basically worthless. It's all about context. If you use the AI, and yeah, I mean, I'm playing around with those tools now for 3 years, so it took me quite a while to get there. But once you have it, if you know how to interact with those tools and which context they need, how much they need, and also when I'm drafting a patent application, I have like are you using all different kinds of tools, but I always have one large chat running besides it, right? Basically the whole day when I'm drafting. And so in the middle of the drafting process, the AI has so much context because of this long conversation it has. And then the results get pretty specific. And so maybe concrete examples where the quality can then really exceed the human level, so to say. I can think of 2 examples probably. So one is I use all the time is that if you want to have a strong patent, you shouldn't just describe your one way how to build your invention, but you should ideally describe several possible alternative ways how you can implement the inventive concept you are trying to protect, right? Because on the one hand, you want to block every single workaround, and also the more support you have in your description, then the broader the claims you can get, right? So in the patent claims, which define the scope, you always want to protect the broad inventive concept, and in your patent description, you need several, ideally, possible implementations, alternative ways how to actually build it. And here AI can do wonders, because in the old way, when I was doing everything manually, I mean, every patent attorney has a limited budget, right, in terms of time and money from the client in the end, and also finite energy. And I mean, if I'm writing everything down manually, maybe I managed to have like 2 implementation examples in there, right? Which I really can flesh out and, write 2 pages about it with concrete values and concrete real life examples. And that's it. Then the budget is over, basically. And in the new approach, I can tell the AI, well, now you know the inventive concept, you know all the context of the invention. Please give me 10 different alternative ways how this could be built. And it then generates them in 1 minute, basically, right? And then I can, again, responsibility, I can decide which of those examples I adopt in my application, because maybe only 6 out of the 10 make sense technically, right?
Yeah.
And the results are really amazing. So I have my prompt templates in the meantime, how I prompt the AI to come up with those implementation details. And the trick is also sometimes to give the AI examples of great such implementation examples, and then the results are pretty good normally. Second example where the AI really shines in terms of quality is this other elephant in the room also, especially in AI patents, we have this strict hurdle of sufficiency of disclosure at the European Patent Office, right? So the EPO is these days quite strict on that. So in order to get an AI patent, you really have to explain at least one working example, which is very specific, with concrete model architectures, how many layers, what kind of hyperparameters. And the problem is often that, inventors, engineers are busy. They give me the big idea and their concept, and they say, now write me the patent. And then when I come back to them and say, oh, well, yeah, I understand the concept, but we need in the patent, we need concrete examples how you could build it. And in many cases, the engineers are not interested in one specific implementation, because that would be too limiting, right? And if I ask them about how many layers could you do and which kind of hyperparameters, that's pretty. I either get no answer, right, or I get a vague answer next week because everyone's busy. And also here with the right prompts, you can have the AI create these, let's say, hypothetical implementation examples and give those to the inventors. And then there is something like, I think it's called the Cunningham's law, which says that people hate being wrong more than they like being helpful. So people don't like to answer questions so much, but they really like to say, oh no, there's an error here. And so if I give the inventors, this draft from the AI with an implementation example, the ball gets rolling more easily, and the inventors can say, no, I wouldn't do it like that. This one would be better with this kind of parameters and things like that. And then you get the details out of the inventors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, at the end, nobody likes to sit in front of a white paper or having a very generic question and say, okay, I'm reinventing everything. So what is this guy doing? Because with that question, I mean, we start from scratch. And it's much better having something which is reasonable and then giving it the final details to make it as good as possible. I can see exactly the point. So Katrin has an interesting question, which I would like to ask you. So is there any free of charge AI tool that patent attorneys would even be allowed to use for anything invention specific? And not just for searching for alternative terms and confidential client data, not ending up in training set for AI. So obviously, she has heard nothing about open source LLMs, which you can implement on your own computer.
You could do that, yeah. You can download an endless set of large language models, open source, open weights, large language models onto your local computer, so you don't have any confidentiality problems there. And but it's nevertheless it's an important remark, because I mean, she's right. If you use like ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Claude, if you use the free accounts, they typically train their models on your inputs. So you should not do that as a patent attorney. Yeah, no way, because then you would really give the sensitive information from your clients to the big AI providers to train their models, and that is not a good thing to do. That cannot be recommended. There's from the generic chatbots, there is only you have to stick with commercial the versions, right? You have to have a paid plan where you can then set the settings.
Yeah, you can also from Microsoft to get your own tenant, and then nothing goes out of this tenant. So that's very easy. So different solutions. There are different technical solutions. And by the way, Katrin, I recommend to you to discuss that with ChatGPT, because you will get wonderful answers to that, and you can immediately check how that works. So it's a database, and of course, so I like to discuss technical issues with Gemini at the moment. Gemini, I think it's great, and but of course not as a patent attorney with invention disclosure. That's something different. But for that, you can put it, for example, on your computer. Final question. We're running out of time. That was fascinating to talk with you. Just you talked about these workflow. How so? When I'm a patent attorney and I want to start with that thing and then want to get an experience for myself, whether that could work for me. What let's say for drafting. So how should they start, or what is your recommendation to do?
Just do it. I mean, the funny thing about AI is that about these kind of generative AI text production tools is that you just have to get used to them. You just have to try it out in order to even grasp what you can do with them. It's really difficult to you know, explain in the abstract what you can use them for. You just have to try them out, gain experience, and then you realize over time,
webinars.
Sorry?
You give webinars. So one way would be to go on a webinar with you and to observe how you work, so that I get an impression how that could work.
Yeah, that's the shortcut, of course. Yeah, you can come to one of my seminars. The next one will be in February next year, and there it's always a 3-hour online webinar, and there I just share my current tool setup, so to say. So we just play through one patent drafting job from beginning to end, as far as we get in 3 hours. Yeah, that's the shortcut, and there you can exactly see how I use the tools, and I also give you all of my prompts for you to use at home.
Okay, so thank you very much for that, and I can only support what you said. There's no way around. You have to do it on your own to understand better. It's playing around with it and to learn more and more how it could help. Thank you very much, Bastian, for these insights and for this very entertaining and insightful discussion. So out there, the audience, you are invited to join us as IP subject matter experts on our platform. Just write me a direct message on LinkedIn or an email, and I'm happy to explain how it works. At the end, we support especially European users of the IP system, and we are happy to work with you in that field. And finally, we will have a break now over the end of the year, and next year, 21st January, the next IP guy comes to us, Johannes Ernecke, and we will talk about AI as value driver for IP law firms. So that was the final show for this year. Bastian, that was the summit to have you here and to talk with you. Thank you very much. And to all out of you, I wish you Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Bye-bye.